Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good final day of all the goods. And welcome to the madness that is the Charlie Marx Show. I'm Charlie Marx, and I often wonder, what is the point of wondering? It's time taken up on just pondering rather than doing. Surely we should just do whatever it was we were wondering about and do the wondering at a later date. A quick reminder to please like, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications and follow the Charlie Marx Show. Also, please share, as sharing is daring. You can also leave me a comment, or why not join the show by telling me what's bugging you in the world with the Devil's Advocate. I can also be spied upon by you visiting www.charliemarx.co.uk. You can also buy me a coffee, which is not an actual coffee, but a pretend coffee. So, coming up on tonight's show, we have all the latest fake news from around the world and beyond from the CM Newsroom, and moans and groans and things that go irk in the night with the Devil's Advocate, plus lots more. But first, a section for our preschool watchers as we learn about the facts with Professor Peter Phile in The Facts of Life. G'day little viewers, I'm Professor Peter Phile, and today we're going to look at facts which will blow your mind. Let's start with an unknown phenomenon. Gravity. Gravity is not only what keeps us from floating away, but is a very good film starring the lovely, gorgeous lady Sandra Bullock. Gravity may sound complicated to understand, but it's easy. If you jump off a very tall building, gravity will have you hitting the ground with a large splat. But I'm often asked, why do cats always land on their feet if the laws of gravity apply to everything? Well, my little scientists, we conducted an experiment, a scientific experiment, where we took a kitten to the top of a 30-story office block and we threw it off. So, what did we learn from this? Well, firstly, try and make sure the kitten is awake when conducting an experiment. And secondly, cats do land on their feet, but the force of the impact does cause its legs to shoot up out of its back. Our next fact, my little darlings, will dazzle you. Now, I know that our watchers of this program are preschool age, so I'm pretty convinced that all of you will have your own phones. So here's a fact about your phones. We conducted an experiment where I started a relationship with my wife's sister, but soon realized that all the saucy texts I'd been sending her could be read by my wife. So I made up a solution of sulfuric acid and fairy liquid, and I placed the phone into the solution. I watched as my $1,500 iPhone bubbled and self-destructed. My wife's sister told my wife about her affair, because that's what sisters do, and I was thrown out of the house after severe beating. What does that tell us? It tells us that I should have not pooped on my own doorstep, and secondly, not all experiments work. Welcome back to the Charlie Marx Show, you stunningly stunning people, you. So, the Yankees are out of contention for the World Series. They were beaten by the Toronto Blue Jays. That's right, the greatest team in baseball American history was beaten by Canadians. To be fair, a very accomplished Canadian baseball team, but it still devastated me on a level that I will never go over until next season. Still much more to come, but now it's time to get all the latest fake news from around the world and beyond with CM News. Good evening and welcome to CM News with me, Margaret Dumont. Our top story. A woman who murdered her husband because he had a dream that he was having an affair has been convicted of being a little too clingy. Judge Coango said that the murder was particularly grotesque, but gave the unnamed woman a sentence of 24 hours in the fear that his own wife would suddenly awake from her coma and do him in. Missing out on the Nobel Prize for bringing peace to the Middle East, President Orange remained in his room today in the White House with the door closed. His aides have said that he is refusing to open the door and come down for his dinner. And now, a quick look at the markets. Jim Bob is selling second-hand toilet paper and Mrs. Murphy has a fine selection of jams. After many years of being dead, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart is to bring out a new album. The album will have guest appearances by Lady Gaga, Take That and the Spicy Girls. The album is due to go in general release on Monday. And finally, some breaking news just in. President Orange has left his room but has still refused to come down for his dinner. And that was the latest headlines. This is Margaret Dumont for CM News. Good night. Thank you, Margaret Dumont. And more from the CM Newsroom next time. But now it's time for children from a local primary school to get to ask questions to our special guest, astronomer Thomas Uranus. Well, it's kind of like the Big Bang because it's like inside like your butt there's a pressure point, and that's like the gases in the universe, and they're so vast, it's unbelievable. And then what happens is it just explodes and there's a terrible smell. It's awful. And what happened was there was a big man in the sky and he had to go to the toilet. And in conjunction with all the other atoms and all the other planetary dust that was created from that, and it was massive, it happened like that. And that was well over at least 200 years ago. Well, Stephen, that's a very good question. And the thing is that all stars twinkle, but not all stars are called twinkle. You have Twinkle Jupiter's 4, which was further up past Mars, and then you've got Jupiter, which has a star that is called Twinkle. So very close, but not really twinkle, is it? So yeah, to answer your question properly, no. Well, Robert, that's an excellent question, and there is no real explanation. We don't know. That is the crux of the problem, is we don't know. We have a suspicion that there was a man called Mr. Cadbury, and he went into space back in 1911, which was a long time ago. That was even before I was born. And then he went up there and he decided to call all the planets different things. And then he came back to Earth and he decided, I think I'll make some sweeties. And then what happened, which was beyond everyone's comprehension, what happened was he then called a planet Maltesers. They were all called Maltesers. But then he got a rabbit and said they were too much like what he found in his rabbit's hutch, so he didn't call the planet that. But good question though. Yes, it is. Yes, it's made of cheese, but it's a lot more than cheese. It's cream cheese, and it's surrounded by what we call the Philadelphia aura. And there's to the back of the moon, which we never see. The back of the moon is like dairy. And then there's some Gouda. As you go down the layers of the moon, there's Gouda, and then some Italian cheeses further down, but they're soft. But yes, the moon is made of cheese, and that's why we're trying to get there, so that we don't have to do all the milky stuff to make cheese. We can just eat it there. Well, Ian, if you were going by car, it would take you quite a while, because the atmosphere would hold you back. Plus, also, it would take a lot of petrol to get to Jupiter. Now, once you got to Jupiter, the problem you have there is all the cars on Jupiter are electric. There's no petrol, so you wouldn't be able to come back. You'd have to sell your car on Jupiter or give it away and buy an electric car. Well, Bridget, I think one day we will live in Mars. It's a possibility. It's a big possibility. We're sending someone up there now. He's a crash test dummy called Elon, and he wants to live in Mars so much. So what they are thinking is that if we could live on Mars, we could what's known as colonize it. Now, that is when you send a lot of people called Colin up to the planet, and they monize it. Now, as to your part of your question about is there a McDonald's, there probably is a McDonald's because they're everywhere. It's not, Timothy. It's really not, because there's lots of bullies in Mercury. Mercury is what they call the bully planet. It is full of people with spots who just tease people, and they call people names. Like if you're wearing baggy trousers, they'll say, "Where are you going?" and things like that. You know, so it's not a good place to go to school. I wouldn't imagine. No. If you're planning and go to Mercury for school, I would say no. Well, Lucy, that is a fabulous question, and yes, there are Martians in space. You see, we are the Martians. We're the ones, and we are invading their space. You see, we weren't meant to be born, but what happened was the atmosphere. If you look behind me, there, that is the Earth, and no, that is the Earth, the big one, and the little one is the Moon. Now, behind the Moon, that you can't see it right now, Lucy, but behind the Moon, there is a city, just one, but it's big. And the Martians live there, and they go to work and they have lots of fun, and at the weekends they wash the car and they cut the grass. Everything's just lovely. But they are coming to invade us very, very soon, because they don't like us. See, they're racist. But what can you do? I would say the most famous spaceman ever would have to be either Neil Armstrong or Captain Kirk. Now, Captain Kirk did a lot more than Neil Armstrong ever did, because he went round and round all the different planets, so he was a better spaceman. So I would have to opt for Captain Kirk. Well, George, The thing about going to space is you really have to be thin, because if you're blobbing around in space and you suddenly go out the door to play or something, then you would float away like a big balloon and somebody would think you were a planet. Now, the problem with that is Mr. Cadbury is dead now, so he can't name you. So you would just be Georgie Porgy Planet Boy. And if you're okay with that, then go for it. Live your dreams. Live your dreams and eat your cake. Wonderful. Now it's time to find out what's hot and what's crap as we look at more album reviews. Welcome to album reviews, and I'm going to start with a cover album. This is an album that's been done by this artist, and it's all covers on it, so didn't really have to work very hard for it, just picked songs and sang them, and it was recorded in about 20 minutes, the whole thing, and that was making the album as well. It's by Angela Raynaton, and it's called Will Work for Tax Relief. Again, I'll put the albums up in a wee side picture for you, but this album itself, it includes songs like This Old House, Don't Need No Taxes, and mainly her songs have a kind of, she seems to be quite a home bird. She's a folk singer, and she does a lot of folking songs. So Home Sweet Home, Home in the Range, Sweet Home Alabama, Take Me Home Country Road, Our House, and Take the Long Way Home. So they're all covers, and there's probably about, I don't know, 12, 13 tracks on it. Interestingly enough, no, not a good album at all. I found it to be quite, it's in the style of kind of Joan Baez, Bob Dylan, mixed in with a kind of Bruce Springsteen, and that didn't work for me, because Bruce Springsteen sounds nothing like the rest of them, and they don't sound anything like Bruce, so it's a rather tricky album to say anything good about, but it's our ninth album, yeah, and they were all pretty much the same. In fact, they had the same songs on them. Okay, well, not for me, but if you like somebody doing somebody else's music, then you'll probably enjoy this. Next, Geriatric and the Pacemakers, Always Looking Down on You. This is quite a good album. It has on it one cover as opposed to the last album, which was all covers, but this only has one cover on it, and it's the Tokens. Do you remember them? The Tokens, not Tolkien, because that would be Lord of the Rings, but the Tokens, they did The Lion Sleeps Tonight. Well, they've done their version of it is The Liar Sleeps Tonight, which is quite good. In this, we have Don Trumpy and Forgetful Guy. Keith Stammer makes a return to this group, and Kim Jong-un, he's a tenor. Well, that's much they got him for. So it is a good album. It's probably one of their better albums. Before, they were just getting the feel of the studio, but now they took it over, pretty much dominated it, and wouldn't let anyone who owned the studio back into it ever again. So they now have a studio of their own, which is it was produced by Kim Jong-un, who said he wanted to produce the album, but then he was fired from producing the album, and Don Trumpy, he decided that he would produce because nobody's ever produced like him. He's the greatest producer there is and there ever will be. Definitely the best production of an album. No album's ever had the production that this album's had. So, and that comes from him. So, you know. So I would check it out. Geriatric and the Pacemakers, always looking down on you. Enjoy. Makes you want to go out and spend your money on something plastic. And we'll be back next time for another review of what's hot and what's medium in the album of the week. But now it's time for another roundup of moans and groans and things that go irk in the night in The Devil's Advocate. Is AI making the world lazier? Personally, I think it is, but I'd be very interested to hear what you think in the comments below. You see, AI is clever, very clever, too damn clever. And although some people think that this artificial intelligence is the modern way of the world, but with every innovation comes a very real segregation. And what I mean by this is unclear to me right now. But both the words innovation and segregation sounded good. You see, letters no longer need to be thought out, as you merely put the context of what you want in a box and the AI generates a well-crafted letter. No longer do you need to sweat over a script as AI has been up all night drinking your coffee and smoking your cigarettes, but has a few ideas it thinks you will like. All you need to do is put some ideas into the AI box and go for a lie down, and the great artificial writer in the sky will enable you to go into rehearsals the following day. And don't ever fret about writing that next song, because AI will do all that for you, from writing the music to the lyrics, leaving you to concentrate on the sex, the drugs and the throwing televisions out of hotel windows. But surely all this does make us the plagiarising kings and queens of the 21st century. If I write a play or a song and someone else takes the credit, I would be more than a little annoyed. Artists want to be recognised for their ability and talent, but when you had little or no input in your own work, can you really take the credit? Now the problem rises that anybody questioning the authenticity of your work is no longer only questioning your talent, but your honesty. And where does all this end? Doctors putting your symptoms into the AI box and going for a nice lie down? We need to cease all this laziness and get back to work before the AI decides it doesn't even need us to put anything in the box. Thank you for watching the Charlie Marx Show, and remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, share and follow me on www.charliemarx.co.uk. So, until next time, if you're not watching the Charlie Marx Show, I will say nothing, but my AI will have plenty to say.